what an honor it is to speak to men who made all of that.
Would you tell my family that, please? Yeah.
Well, there's so much to talk about. But I have to say, for most people that I know, you could count on one hand, maybe two, how many films really had an impact on their life. And you made one of those films. For most people that I have ever discussed Dead Poets Society with.
Oh, I thought you meant eight heads in a duffel bag, but okay.
And it's, there's so many reasons for that, I think, but I think it's because it obviously had to come from somewhere deep in your soul. So I'd love to hear a couple of things. One, where it did come from for you.
Deep in my soul.
Yeah.
That.
But also what it took. It is also a minor miracle or a major miracle to get a film made. Particularly when you hadn't already gotten a bunch of films made.
Mm-hmm.
I think you had done some movies of the week that had been produced by that point, but none that had that sort of impact. So I would love to hear how you got that done.
Yeah, we don't have 2 days.
Well,
so
right.
I wrote it. I sent it to my agent at the time. He called me at 2 a.m. and said, "This is one of the best scripts I've ever read. Come see me in the morning." I did. By the time I got to his office, he said to me, "I've been thinking about this, and I can't get it made. It's not commercial enough. It's kids in all boys school. None of those movies do well. You'll need to get another agent if you want to get it made." So I went looking for another agent. Took 5 agents before all of them passed. That agent had only read half the script. He said, "I think I can find actors at my agency here who will be in it. I can package it." I remember living in fear for months that he would read the second half of the script and pass. But anyway, he sent it around, and for 18 months, nothing happened. And then one day, he said a producer named Stephen Half had read the script, and he couldn't get it out of his mind, and wanted a shot to take it to Disney, which we both, my agent and I, knew had already passed. I had been to Disney with the script, and they said, "We like this, but why don't you make him a dance teacher? Maybe we have a title, The Sultans of Strut. How's that?" I don't know. So, but Stephen Half got the script to Jeff Katzenberg, who hadn't read it, and he said, "We're making it." And at which point it became about casting. They had a director who was not Peter Weir, who was attached, and Robin would not say yes, but he wouldn't say no. So they prepped the movie. The first day of the movie, Robin was on the call sheet, didn't show. They canceled the movie. It was being shot in Georgia. They said, "Burn the sets and come home." Burn the sets because it's cheaper to burn them than it is to ship them back to LA. So that night I got a call saying, "Oh, they're dailies." I said, "Dailies from the first, we didn't shoot anything." He said, "Apparently we did." So I went to see dailies, and the director had filmed the burning of the sets in this large kiln. So, and at which point they gave that director some time to go out and try to get it made with actors other than Robin. Couldn't get it set up. He left. Another actor came in for a while, and then when he left, Robin said yes, Peter Weir was attached, and we were making the movie. That was 4 years after I wrote it, which is a very short time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
For getting a movie made, yeah.
Wow, that's a heart attack.
Yeah.
So there are also very few people who can say that they've sold 2 projects in one day.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you could talk about that a little bit, selling this and second.
It was called Love at Second Sight.
Yeah.
It was about a psychic detective agency where they solve crimes that haven't been committed yet. So, and I wrote that. Dead Poets was going nowhere, and I wrote Second Sight, or Love at Second Sight, gave it to my agent. I called him for a couple of times, and he didn't return my phone calls, and I finally decided I got to fire him. So I went to it. He wouldn't even return my phone call for me to tell him, "You're fired." So I went to his office, and while I was waiting to try to get in to see him, he threw a stapler at his assistant, and when he looked out to see if he had hit the assistant, he saw me. He said, "Oh, I know why you're here. You're here to fire me." And I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Well, you're not going to fire me today." And I said, "Why not?" He said, "Because that piece of dreck that you wrote, that second sight thing, it was lying on the floor here, and a producer picked it up, and he likes it, and he gave it to a bunch of studios, so it's in a bidding war, and it'll be sold this afternoon." And I said, "You're just making this up." He said, "No, come back to my office, and you can watch it happen." So I came back after lunch, and the studios started calling with offers, and he, the whole time, wouldn't even take their calls. He just spent the whole time talking to his a person about decorating new pillows for his house and office. And I kept hearing his assistant would come in and go, "The Warner Brothers is offering this, and Columbia is offering that." I'm going, "Take one of those offers. I need this money." And he's like, "Shut up." And he wouldn't. Finally, at like 6 o'clock, after all the studios were telling him they were going to pass, he sold them. One of them bought the script. Warner Brothers bought the script, and then he said, "Dead Poet Society going nowhere." Well, guess what? Disney read it. Katzenberg likes it. I think he's going to make an offer tonight. I'm like, "Oh my God!" And so about 11:30 at night, he called me and said, "I just got off the phone with Katzenberg. They bought the script." What a day.
So I guess it sounds like the trick is fire your agent. And then you sell stuff.
Yeah. I should try that.
And so then Disney obviously, caught on to the idea that you were a very valuable person to
I don't
have.
think they offered me anything to do for about 8 months or something.
Which is not very long in Hollywood.
I guess. I think my agent called them and said, "What's the deal here? You're going to make this movie. Give him some work." So that work was on I Shrunk the Kids.
Right. So there's a little bit of an interesting story on that too, I think, because that started out as a drama.
It was called, on the script, it was called A Backyard Drama. And it was called, I can't remember, there were so many titles for it, but by the time I got on the project, they were about 8 days away from shooting, and they had fired the director, all the creative producers, and the writers. So
They want entertainment business.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
why.
and Rick Moranis had at that point gave them a deadline: turn this into a comedy by the day before I shoot, or I'm dropping out of the movie. So they said to me, "You've got 10 days to turn this into a comedy," and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to do. So that was a Thursday, and they walked me through some of the special effects, the B-ride, those sorts of things. And I said, "Okay, let me think about it, and I'll start on Monday." And they go, No, you're going to an office, and you're going to start writing right now." I said, "I have to think about it." So we argued about that for a few days, and finally on Monday I started writing and turned in a new draft on Wednesday. They read it immediately, and I had to write I got 3 hours sleep from Monday till Saturday. And then, and I even remember on Saturday, waking up in the morning after 2 hours sleep, come over to Katzenberg's house, "We've got a problem." Everybody was over there, and the whole team and director and so forth, and Katzenberg says, "Open your scripts to page 72, this line of dialogue." We got there, and I said, "What about this?" He goes, "Okay, good, that's it." And so they said, "Ship the script to Moranis." And the next morning I went home, fell asleep, didn't even think about it. Moranis woke me up, they gave me my number, and he said, "I'm in." And I hung up, and that was it. So the next day they started shooting.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, that sort of set you on a comedic trajectory.
I guess,
looks like.
a lot of Second Sight was a comedy.
Yeah.
And probably a more slapstick comedy than even Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And I guess if there's an advantage to having to spend 5-6 years trying to get a start as a writer, you do a lot of writing, and you try a lot of things. So I think by the time I got that rewrite, as crazy as it was trying to do it, I was quick. I sort of knew to trust my instincts and go quickly, so at least I had that.
Well, and you clearly brought a lot of depth of character to the comedy that you wrote. So it's not an entire departure from dramatic writing. But, but it is interesting that, at least for now, we'll see what happens in the future. But you started with something more dramatic, and now tonight you're going to show us something.
It's dramatic. Yeah.
Dramatic
and
again.
Thrillerish, and yeah. But I think character driven too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that
I don't know how to write without characters, so I don't know what else to do.
But even in the high concept, I mean, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, you can't really get higher concept than that in some ways. And even in that case, you brought characters to it. So.
I think to me, I couldn't, the hook for me was realizing that, because I broke my leg my senior year in high school, and there was supposed to be like a hayride or something, and I was dating this girl who was really excited about a hayride. This was way back in the day. And, and the doctor came to me and said, this is a serious break. You're going to be in the hospital for 6 weeks. You're going to be in a cast for 6 months, da 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 da. And I looked at him and I said, does that mean I have to miss the hayride? And I realized, and he was scowled at me, and I was serious, and I realized, okay, these kids have been shrunk to the time, but they have lives. They're not worried about being shrunk, they just want to get back to their lives. So I was able to sort of connect with their predicament in a comedic way, It's like, I better not miss my date, that kind of thing. So.
Is there a film that you actually had the most fun writing?
Phew, probably 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag.
Okay.
I was working on a rewrite for a studio and just having a terrible time. And it was during the OJ trial, and every day Court TV would have about an hour wrap-up of what went on. And one day they were talking about the police were trying to find the murder implements, the knife, whatever. And there was conjecture that maybe he had left them in a bag, in a trash can at the airport. And I started thinking, it would be just like me if you didn't put it in the trash can, just left it there. I would be the one to accidentally pick up the wrong bag, and it would have, bloody. But and I thought, well, this is not a comedy. I don't know what this is. This is bad. And then I thought, but maybe if someone put a head in there. I don't know why this struck me as funny, but then I thought one head is not that funny. But maybe 6, 8 heads, there could be something there. So this idea of a farce with 8 heads came to me, and I called home and said, I've got this idea, I'll be home tomorrow, and I just wrote it that night. And I had a great time,
So, and then you directed it.
Yeah.
So how's that happen?
I was at that point pretty much insisting that anything I wrote, I would direct.
Okay.
So that one somehow landed as the one.
And was that something that you had always wanted to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I started writing because I wanted to direct, and I wanted to have something to sort of leverage myself into that position. So, because I was not a natural writer at all. In fact, writing was one of my weak spots in high school and college. But I didn't own any properties, and I didn't know other way to get in. So, many years later, I was doing it. So, and fell in love with writing along the way, and love hate. I mean, it's tough.
So left to your own devices, do you tend more comedic? Right?
I think so. It's just, I don't know. It always feels like comedy is right there under the surface. So, and it's more satisfying somehow, because if you get to watch a movie with people in a theater, at least if they're laughing, they're somehow with you. I mean, the first time we screened Dead Poets Society, I literally sat in the back and thought the whole time, because people would get up and go to the bathroom, so I thought, they're gonna all walk out. I could not read the audience at all. It just felt horrible. So, but a comedy, what about Bob and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? They're laughing. You go, okay, at least they're with me, so.
Well, yeah, $400 million at the box office
Well,
later.
you don't know that at the time. Yeah.
Well, it must have been quite an experience too, fairly early on in your career, to be recognized with an Oscar win for your writing.
Yeah.
Regardless of how uncomfortable you might have felt doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was unexpected.
And well deserved, I have to say.
Thank you. Yeah. I was, 10 years into, the struggle of putting together a writing career. So the last thing you, and like parents help their friend, you're like, poor Tommy, he's out in LA. What else can he do at this point? It's too late to go to law school or be a doctor. So, another life wasted. But so suddenly that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen the film yet. I can't wait. But I would have thought to say that you are drawn toward true life inspiration for the things that you direct, except Eight Heads in a Duffel Bag. I'm not sure
Yeah.
that really falls into that.
I don't think so. No.
But there is personal connection to Double Down stuff.
There is. I mean, as a high school student, I had spent too much time in pool halls. One of them was 20th Century Pool Hall in Nashville. And in the back of the pool hall, they had this game called Keno Pool, where they would put this board on the table, and the board had holes drilled in it. The idea was to get the numbered ball from the rack into the numbered ball on the board. And so the first time I played it, you watch people play it. I put $1 up and waited my turn. And when I got there, this guy broke, and he made there's a double hole on the board. And if you make a double on the break, you win twice the bet. So he makes the double. He said, "You owe me $2." And I said, "Well, I only bet $1." And he said, "I made a double. You owe me $2." I'm like, "Okay." So I gave him $2. I get ready to shoot. He goes, "It's still my shot." I break again. And I said, "Oh." And I said, "If you break again, double again, is it double the bet?" He goes, "Yep." So he broke again, and he made another double. He said, "Now you owe me $4." Oh my God! I said, if you break again and make another double, I'm going to lose. I don't have $8. He goes, "You got that watch." So fortunately, he missed, and I got ready to shoot, and somebody said, "If you shoot and miss, it's his turn again, and this could start all over." So I walked away, didn't even get to shoot. So I became fascinated with this game. There was a woman that came into the pool hall, it was a pretty rough place, and would play Keno with the men. And all us young guys were, hoping that she would give us a glance, but she never did. And I was fascinated by this woman that would come in here and with all these guys, with all the physical danger and all the banter and so forth, and win and walk out and keep coming back. So, eventually I stopped going and she stopped going, I'm sure, but I put a pin in that, and years later, 2 years ago, I literally thought, I don't think I have any other ideas. And then I woke up the next day and I went, oh my God, that woman in the pool hall, I wonder. And a couple of days later, it hit me what I think this story should be. So I don't know if that's a personal connection or not, but this is a game that I play quite a bit and love the characters in a pool hall. I mean, it's an interesting little, group of people, I think.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're going to see.
Yeah. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah.